Hey there and welcome. As a gardener, there's just nothing like that feeling of getting a plant in the ground you know is going to be there for years. But what about the markers you use to label it? Well, today we're going to dig into why a permanent marker is absolutely worth it. Specifically, these professionally crafted silver-plated markers that, honestly, you'll probably never have to replace.
Oof, does that sound a little too familiar? Yeah. If you've ever been out there on your hands and knees picking those little white plastic bits out of your nice mulch, you know exactly the problem we're talking about today. It's a frustration every single one of us has dealt with. All right, let's just get right into it. This yearly headache. Every spring, right? We go out, we buy those plastic tags, we write on them with our best so-called permanent marker, and we cross our fingers. And every single year, they let us down. But why? Why are they just so bad at their one job? Well, here's the deal with plastic. It's just not meant for life outside. The sun beats down on it, and within one season, it gets so brittle you can just look at it wrong and it'll snap. And that ink you so carefully wrote on there, it's gone by July. And maybe the worst part of all, it doesn't just disappear. It breaks down into all these little microplastics right in the soil you're working so hard to keep healthy. So what's the fix? What's the alternative to this whole cycle of buying, breaking, and tossing them out? How do we get off this plastic treadmill for good? Well, it turns out the solution's been sitting around for decades, just waiting for a new life in the garden. It's really about changing how we think about it. Instead of a plant marker being this disposable little tag, think of it as a permanent tool for your garden. It's about picking a material that was built to last for like 100 years and giving it a new, even better purpose. So what are we really talking about here? We are talking about taking honest-to-goodness, high-quality, vintage, silver-plated flatware, the really heavy stuff your grandma had from back in the day, and professionally stamping it. This isn't just some weekend craft project. This is about engineering a tool that is fundamentally built to ignore the very things that destroy everything else out there. Okay, so let's really put these two side by side. When you actually compare those cheapo plastic tags to a professionally made marker, well, the best choice gets real clear real fast. And when you look at the total value over time, oh my gosh, it's just night and day. Plastic is literally money you're throwing in the compost heap every single year. Trying to make them yourself, well, that can be super frustrating, and the results are kind of all over the place. But a professional marker? That's a one-time investment that pays you back for a lifetime. You buy it once and it'll be in your garden for decades to come. But what is it that makes silver plate so tough? It's not just because it's metal. It's really about the specific science of what happens in a garden and why this material is just perfectly made to survive all those elements. This right here, this is the sciencey reason your plastic markers turn into little fragile shards. UV degradation, that's the sun literally taking the plastic apart, molecule by molecule. It's an unstoppable force, and it's why every plastic marker is guaranteed to fail you. Metal, on the other hand, it couldn't care less about the sun. Just think about it. A spoon made in, say, 1930 was built to handle industrial-strength dishwashers and being scraped around for decades. A little sun and snow in your garden, for a spoon like that, that's basically a spa day. Now, a lot of folks get the idea they can just grab a stamping kit and do this themselves. But as this note points out, there is a huge difference. To get a mark that's deep, clean, and permanent, you need some serious heavy-duty gear. Without it, you're not going to get a pro tool, you're just going to get a bent spoon. And here is the coolest part, I think. These markers actually get better as they get older. As the silver plate sits out in the elements, it gets this beautiful dark tarnish called a patina. This isn't damage or rust. It's a natural protective layer that makes the stamped letters actually stand out more, so they become even easier to read over time. How cool is that? All right, now let's tackle some of the common questions and, well, pitfalls that come up when people are trying to find a solution that really lasts. Because there are a few of those quick fixes that seem like a good idea at first, but they just don't hold up. This has got to be the number one thing people try. You've got a metal spoon, you got a permanent marker. Seems simple enough, right? Problem solved? Well, not so fast. There's a big time flaw in that plan. To put it bluntly, the sun's ultraviolet rays will destroy any ink you can put out there. I mean, they eat it for breakfast. It does not matter how permanent that marker claims to be. The only truly permanent mark is a physical one, an impression that is stamped deep into the metal itself. It can't fade, it can't wash off, it's just there. Okay, so ink is out.
The next logical step for a lot of gardeners is, I'll just do it myself. A cheap stamping kit seems like it'll pay for itself, but let me tell you, trying to stamp on a curved, hardened piece of old metal is a one-way ticket to frustrationville. Here's what's going to happen. You'll likely end up with shallow, kind of messy marks that just disappear as soon as that spoon gets its first turnish. Or even worse, you might use so much force that you actually crack the silver plating, which can lead to rust. You really need specialized equipment to get that perfect deep strike every single time. That's a fair question for sure. I mean, these things are going to be living outside in the rain and the snow and the humidity all year long. So what happens to the metal? And the answer is a simple nope, they don't rust. The base metals they used back then are corrosion resistant. What you get instead is that beautiful dark patina we were talking about, and honestly, most gardeners love that look. It gives the whole garden a sort of timeless, established feel, and it really makes the names of your plants pop. So, after looking at all this, the science, the side-by-side comparison, the common mistakes, what's the big takeaway? What's the final word on how to identify your plants for good? It really just boils down to this. You can keep buying disposable plastic year after year after year, or you can make one single purchase that will last you a lifetime of gardening. It's about finally ending that cycle of waste and giving your heirloom plants the permanent, beautiful identification they really deserve. You know, by choosing tools that are built to last, you're doing so much more than just labeling a plant. You're building a history. You're not just planting for this summer, you're building a legacy that someone could find 30 years from now. So the real question is, what story do you want your garden to be telling for years to come?